first of all, you are going to be uncomfortable. Holding the breath is inherently uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So it's a dream to say that, yes, if you look at a beautiful dive somewhere and you see somebody going down and coming back up again and being super happy on the surface, you have no idea everything that they went through on the way down and on the way back up, because all you've seen is their movement and perhaps a little smile on their face, because that's one of the biggest tricks in freediving is to smile. Tricking the body into thinking that you're happy, that you're in a good place. And you are happy, but you might be uncomfortable.
Hey there, beautiful. This is Anneke, and you are listening to the Original Medicines podcast, in which we look for usual and unusual medicines for mental health. In this podcast, you can expect conversations about life and death through stories, mystical experiences, critical questions, and sometimes silence, where deeper layers of our existence can be unraveled, where we can find gems of insight and clues for healing. I investigate the relationship with each other as humans, with our inner parts and the earth, with the aim of better understanding the transformation in which we collectively find ourselves. And today, our guest is Darja Tjioe. And I'm very happy that you are here with us today. She broke the Dutch record of going underwater in the ocean. She went 84 meters deep. And we met each other at the Inner Embassy, which is a yoga studio here in The Hague. And we are going to speak about a very beautiful and deep topic of the medicines of water, the medicines of silence, and the breath, and especially the medicine of holding the breath. And this all relates in different ways to the dark night of the soul. And I'm very curious about your perspective as a free diver to these topics. So welcome, Darja.
Thank you so much, Anneke. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be here. So, we start this conversation, with a beautiful intention. For me, the intention is to share the awareness to the people who listen, share the awareness of the medicine of the water, and also to create awareness within ourselves, like how we react to these medicines, and potentially to learn something from this. And what is this for you? Like, what is your intention for this meeting? Well, as you said, we met at this yoga studio, and I was holding a small workshop on what freediving is and what it can do for you. And everything that I've experienced since starting my freediving journey has been of so much help for me, and has been healing in a way, has been activating in a way, and has brought me so much and has shown me so much of myself that I can't help but want to share some of these benefits and some of these experiences that I've had, because if it can happen for me, obviously it can happen for anyone. Plus that, of course, freediving is my passion, one of my passions, and there's nothing better than to share your passion with others.
Beautiful.
So,
yeah. I really believe that in a bigger sense that the pearls can be found in the deepest darkness. And of course, I'm always speaking from a perspective of mental health and crises and these perspectives. But I think we can find some overlap there.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
like you say, the pearls are in the darkness, and we will talk about this later on, I think, more in depth. But freediving is such a mirror, is such an extreme mirror for yourself, and it shows you who you are on so many levels, and not just the pretty things, also the not so pretty things. And I think that's where the learning is, and that's where the growing is as well.
So let's dive right in here. But let's start a little bit more on a shallower level. Like, who am I on a more, basic level? Or who are you on a more basic level? So where did you grow up? Tell me a little bit about yourself, the place where you grew up, your parents, your family, how many siblings?
So I was actually born right here in The Hague, and my parents traveled a lot and took me along for the ride, which I'm still very, very grateful for. I learned a bunch of languages, I saw a bunch of different cultures, and it made me kind of a nomad at heart. And I've kind of maintained that type of lifestyle throughout my life. So I did go to school here for a big part. I did go to university here in Holland. But after that, I pretty much hit the road and then moved to Egypt, then to Maldives, then to Bali, and now I'm here for a little bit. So I've been traveling and working as a scuba diving instructor. I was always a water baby. My parents threw me in the pool when I was 4, and after a massive bout of screaming, I finally realized that this is probably a good place to be, and I never really left the water again. And then, traveling all over obviously gave me the opportunity to be in the water in different places in the world and enjoy the best of what the ocean has to offer. And then that nomadic lifestyle led me to explore other parts as well. So moving from the scuba diving, I went into yoga, discovered that in India. India is very close to Maldives, so it was an easy hop. And there I became, I did my yoga training, my yoga teacher training, and then practiced a lot. And at some point with one of my dearest and oldest friends, we started a company offering yoga teacher trainings all over the world. So allowing us to continue our nomadic lifestyle. She's based in Australia, but we do our trainings in Australia, in Bali, in Philippines, in Holland, anywhere where we can manage.
That's beautiful.
So that's at a very, very superficial level.
Yeah, beautiful. And you started your yoga practice. Like, what were the first benefits that you find through yoga? As for your diving career. Or was there already, you were already a scuba diver?
I was already a scuba diver. Scuba diving for many people is counted as a sport, but it's not really. It doesn't make you very fit. So I turned to yoga actually for pure physical gains, for pure physical reasons. But discovering that practice and discovering the little pearls that the practice holds, I soon became more interested in the deeper levels of yoga. And not just yoga, also the breath and pranayama. And this, of course, helped me with the scuba diving as well. That was the first little step there. And then from the practice of yoga, what I learned there over many years, because I started practicing probably about 14, 15 years ago, many things I've learned in the practice I can also apply to my freediving today. There's a definite overlap there as well. it's a physical practice, of course, but it's also a mental practice. And I think freediving, as much as yoga, is a physical and mental practice equally. You can be as strong as you want, but if your head is not in the right place, then yoga doesn't work, and neither does freediving.
And when did you start your freediving?
I started freediving probably, about 5 years ago. 6 years ago. Time flies. And I started freediving actually out of curiosity. I spent 18 years of my life pretty much being underwater full time.
Wow.
And but with the tank, with a regulator, being able to breathe underwater. And I always liked the surroundings, and I always liked the weightlessness and the blue and the wildlife and everything. I did, of course, some what we would call snorkeling plus. So having a little dive down and see how long I could hold my breath and play with the fish, but never really in an informed way. And then one day I was asked to write an article on the science of freediving and science of the breath hold. So what does the body do? And I wrote this without actually having the personal experience, but I did do all the research. And I was fascinated. There was so much that popped up that I'd never heard about before. And then I was like, okay, the next opportunity I get, I will do a course. And I ended up for a yoga teacher training in Bali, in Ahmed, which is a little freediving hub. And did my first level there and fell in love. And pretty much never looked back to scuba diving.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, and then you started around 6 years ago, and now you're holding the Dutch, like the national record. Like how did that go? Like how do you end up in being a record holder?
How much time do you have? This is a long path, a very interesting path. There's a few elements there. First of all, of course, there is the love of the water. Like I said, I took to freediving very easily, not because I'm such a gifted person, but because I feel so at home in the water. So the first dive was a little weird, and then the second dive, I almost felt at home. So the first levels, the first courses that I did, it all came quite easily to me, and I pretty much had only good experiences, and so I progressed quite quickly. Then I got stuck, as many freedivers do. I got stuck because I got very in my head about how deep I wanted to go. I got very, very involved with the numbers, with proving something to myself. And that is when everything locked up. So that was an interesting hurdle on the way. And this is where I realized how we get caught up in that, and how goal-oriented any activity can actually not be the most beneficial way to do things, and then how it can also not be the most beneficial way to live your life. So that was an interesting couple of months where I just to give you an idea, somebody told me, let me know when you get to 40. I think I was
40 meters.
40 meters.
Yeah.
And I think I was at 35 meters at the time. And then suddenly this 40 number, 40, became this massive number in my head. And for, I'm going to say, probably about 2-3 months, I was stuck at 38.5 meters. So whatever I did, however much I thought I relaxed, however much I thought I was working on my technique, and I would turn. If I took my computer with me and I knew where I was, I would turn in 38.5. And if I didn't take my computer and had no idea where I was, I would still turn at 38.5 meters. And there was just this grasping, this longing to get it, and this pressure I was putting on myself. So obviously I was not relaxing.
But then you turn, and is this a conscious decision? Because you want to go actually to this 40 number.
Yeah, but there was always something in the way. There was fear, or there was discomfort, or there was an idea that I think I've done enough, I'll try the next one. So probably very much rooted in fear and in sensations in the body that are uncomfortable. When you freedive, one of the things that you have to work on, and which is incredibly important, is that you have a level of relaxation in the body. And freediving is scary because you put your head underwater, you go upside down, and you hold your breath. And one of the things that we need to do as humans, the most urgent thing that we need to do as humans, is breathe. And suddenly you put yourself in a position that you don't breathe. And everything in your system, everything in your body is going to tell you that you don't belong there, that you need to turn around in order to survive, right? So there's a fear, there's a deep, instinctive, natural fear, and that fear is simple fear of drowning, fear of death. And it's not that conscious, because you know you're safe. You've done your course, you know if you stick to all the rules and you're there with a buddy and you do everything as you're supposed to do, you're perfectly safe. Nothing is going to happen to you. So that fear is on a very, very physical and visceral level. And to conquer that, to overcome that, and tell yourself, despite everything that you're feeling, to continue on, that takes a lot of work, and that takes a lot of awareness of what is happening in the body, and a lot of awareness to know how to stop that from happening, to override that, to relax despite the discomfort, to relax despite that really, really deep, deep fear.
I find this very, very interesting and very important as well, because I see this is where we can end up if we are in a state of freeze as well, in a freeze state. Like, this is not conscious per se anymore. It's not something that you can still do in that moment. You just need to surrender to that, what is there. But you say you just turn around and you go back up. So there is something that you're actually doing instead of surrendering towards those 40 meters.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you practice, or how do you ever learn to surrender? And let's say it's not about these 40 meters or whatever, but it's about the topic of surrendering and not being able to surrender, whatever the reason may be. Now, for you, this was like, there was something like a goal in there, but let's try to not think about that goal, but just in general, how to work with your body and mind to continue in surrendering, where you actually, your body is going back up.
I think in freediving, and I think this is what makes it so incredibly interesting and what makes it incredibly healing as well, is that the sensations are very obvious for most of us. So you only need to learn to work, to get a little bit of awareness of what is happening in your body, where you feel tension popping up in different places in your body, but you have something very tangible to work with. So for example, if what happens to a lot of us is we go down, there is that voice in the head somewhere with the little chatter. It's like, oh, you sure you're supposed to be doing that? And that's one thing. And then there's the body reacting to the pressure and to the lack of breathing, right? And to the raising CO2 levels in your body. So you get an urge to breathe. And you can feel your body tensing. So you can feel the body reacting to the pressure. You can feel, for example, that your belly tenses. You can feel that you are bracing against that sensation of the water actually pressing down on your chest. So you can feel those muscles slowly becoming harder, tensing up. And when you focus on each of those parts of your body, you can actually bring the awareness there and soften those parts of the body. Mm-hmm. So rather than working with something so difficult, you know very well how difficult it is to work with the mind, because it's so untangible and so abstract. And if somebody is in fear or in a freeze response, you tell them, no, just relax. That's not gonna, there's no way they can just relax if only it were that simple. But if you tell somebody, okay, but what are you feeling in your belly right now? Can you feel that tension? Can you soften that, just that part of your body? Something can happen, because this is tangible. You can work with the body. We can all learn to work with the body, and we can all learn to be aware of what happens in the body. So this is something you can work with.
So there's also a training possible here, so that in the next situation it's happening. Let's say, so you're not thinking about it to do it in the next situation, but the body is just doing it. Yeah. And I actually think now about a situation that could happen, for example, in domestic violence, which is part of my work, where I, for example, can see a person who is in a situation of domestic violence. And everybody thinks, why are you not just going away? Why are you not walking away? And then there's a lot of feeling of guilt or shame, because yes, I wish I could walk away. And yes, I actually practice, and I know I have an awareness. And still, when the moment arises, I'm there and I'm stuck and I'm not walking away. And again, it happens. And again, more fear is building, more shame is building, more hopelessness is building. So I think this could potentially be a very interesting practice here, because it's very difficult to find ways to work with this. Because, you know, how often do you find another situation that is difficult, this is scary, and it's a way of training yourself. You don't want to train in the domestic violence because you don't want this to happen anymore. So I'm just thinking out loud here, like there are some overlaps here, some ways that we can train certain parts of our nervous system that are activated in freediving and that are activated in like a real life dangerous crisis situation where we got really stuck sometimes. And it's very hard to get out of here. And I'm very curious if people who are listening, what are your thoughts about this? And if this triggers some thoughts or some ideas in the people who are listening, feel free to find ways to connect and let's talk about this. So you said already before that this is an extreme mirror to yourself. So that's also how I try to look at it here in this way.
I think this is probably one of the most powerful aspects of the freediving and of the training in freediving. And what you're saying, I think some people are catching on to it. Of course, the body is becoming more and more important in a lot of therapies. I think the world is finally seeing that the way to healing is very much through the body, right? And a lot less through talk therapy and through the brain and cognitive therapy. And there's quite a few freedivers that have been around for a while that have had these experiences, that have been record-breaking divers, that are now offering courses and retreats that are specifically for people dealing with anxiety and people dealing with stress in their lives. And exactly what you say, learning to deal with stress in it sounds a bit weird, in a safe environment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, most people won't think of being underwater at I don't know how many meters to be a safe environment, but with everything in place, it is. Mm-hmm. And it is the exact, like what you say, it's a place to practice. It's a place to practice dealing with stress, dealing with fear, dealing with anxiety, training the nervous system to find a way out of being, you know, what happens when people are triggered and they spiral and there's no way out of that. In freediving, you get just a little dose. And now you can go like, oh, this is what's happening. Oh, I feel that fear. I feel the same thing as if I'm in a different situation, which is maybe more threatening or is maybe a pattern or something that is going to bring fear or anxiety out in people. But it's small and it's manageable. And now I can just soften the belly, or I can just lower the shoulders, or I can just open my eyes or close my eyes or focus on something outside of myself. And now suddenly this goes away. Mm-hmm. There's many different little tricks that we learn and that we train in order to get through a dive. And I think these are the exact same tricks and things you can learn to get out of a difficult situation.
I think these tricks are very interesting. I would like to dive a little bit deeper into this. And another thing that I want to add is the fact that you have a choice. That's a very big one. Yeah. In trauma therapy in general, this is very important, having a choice. So now you're choosing to go into this practice situation and you decide already on forehand how deep you want to go. Yeah. And you decide who is there with you. And you decide if you're going to even do it today. Yeah. And you decide if you're going to repeat it. Exactly. Like you decide everything.
You're in control.
You're totally in control. Yeah. This is very important. Another thing which is very important from a trauma-informed perspective is that there is an ending. And the experience of the beginning and an ending. That is very important. So I think it's very unhealthy to throw yourself in a very, very deep without building it up and losing the control, or let the control totally with somebody else. So you are being rescued by somebody. I think then you're building something that you don't want to build. Yeah. But if you build it up with good guidance and you pick your guidance, you choose everything, I think it can be an extremely healing way. There's many ways that lead to Rome, but this is one way that I imagine being very has a high potential of medicine in it.
Absolutely.
Like the medicine of freediving, medicine of water, but also here the medicine of choice and the medicine of creating your situation, your practice situation.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So the tricks. Let's see, what are the tricks that we could work on potentially? It's something it has to do, well, like with all these things we were just talking about, like the choice, etc. But also the physical. Like you were already mentioning, like surrendering and relaxation, I think is an important one. But are there tricks how to work with, or how to train or practice with the urge to breathe and, well, dealing with that feeling?
Yes, there are. It's a lot to do with perception, and it has a lot to do with, I think, also what you just said, the choice. I'm choosing to hold my breath now. Working with expectations, working with the pressure you put on yourself, and a very physical way of preparing for a breath hold as well. So if I tell you now, take a big breath and hold your breath. you're going to take a big breath, probably high up in the chest. You're going to fill yourself up nicely because then you've got lots of air to deal with. And then you're going to be super tense and probably watching your clock to see how long you're going to hold your breath. And then in 30 seconds, you're going to start to feel that first urge to breathe. And you're going to breathe and feel slightly panicked is maybe a big word, but you're going to feel very uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So that's how most people hold the breath. So when I tell people that I do a dive of 2.5 minutes, they look at you and they go, you must be completely insane. And how?
How is it possible?
How is it possible?
Yeah, just for the record, like what is the record of the breath holding?
Just lying still, face down in the water. There's actually just a new record for women, which is, if I'm not mistaken, 9 minutes and 7 seconds.
Okay. Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Just to create a little bit of framework here.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and what is your maximum breath hold?
My maximum breath hold is, in freediving terms, is actually not that impressive. But lying face down in the pool, I can do a little over 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
So yes, there is. But yeah, you start your breath hold in a completely different way than what I've just described. What you do is you relax. So first of all, don't think about the breath you're going to hold, but just bring your breathing down to a very low, soft belly breathing. So nothing deep, no hyperventilation, no breathing high up in the chest, but that soft breathing that you have as if you were just about to fall asleep.
Could it be nice if you guide us through like a couple of minutes?
Of a breath hold?
Of the breath hold? Yeah, why not? Let's experience this.
Yeah. If you'd like to do that, probably if you're listening to this podcast now, you want to make yourself comfortable. Mm-hmm. Sitting down or maybe even lying down on your couch or on the floor, and close your eyes if that feels comfortable.
And if you're not in a car.
And if you're not in a car. I wouldn't do this in a car anyway. So make sure that you're not doing anything where you have to keep your full attention on things. So yes, sit, lie down, and maybe just for a moment, check through your body. Like, is there any parts of your body that feel particularly tense because you were just doing something? And see if you can maybe soften those parts of your body. And then bring your attention to your breath. And see if you can bring it low down in the body. And keep the breathing really slow and really soft. No deep inhales or exhales. See if you can breathe through the nose. Try to keep the breathing as slow and as comfortable as you can. And perhaps you can already feel yourself becoming a little calmer. And then take a slightly deeper inhale. Maybe fill up the belly, fill up the chest. And then a nice long exhale. And then when you finish that exhale, take an inhale and fill up the belly. And then take an inhale and fill up the chest. And then pinch the nose. And try and relax. So whichever position you're in, your shoulders came up a little bit. See if you can lower them. Relax the belly, relax the chest. Put a little smile on your face. And then just observe what happens. Enjoy the stillness of the breath hold. And perhaps at a certain point you can start to feel your heart beating. That can be a nice thing to observe. And perhaps you can feel a little bit of warmth. And whatever you're feeling, see if you can observe those sensations. Almost as if you're putting a little bit of distance between what you feel and your direct reaction to it. And of course, at any point in time, if you feel like you want to breathe again, let go of the nose and breathe in again. But if you can hold it just a little bit longer, do so. And this is probably the point where you start to feel a little bit of discomfort. Maybe check that smile on your face again and see if you can be comfortable with this discomfort. Can you relax into the discomfort? What parts of your body are starting to tense up? And can you soften those parts of the body? And whenever you're ready, maybe relax, breathe out, and then breathe in again. And then I think we've done a couple of minutes here. And each one of your experiences is going to be completely different. But this is how we start a breath hold. So we start by relaxing. Normally we probably take a little bit more time to do that.
Mm-hmm. In the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Before you actually start your breath hold. And and that's how it works. So rather than, going into it fully focused and ready to hold the breath and full of tension and action, we try to actually let go of any ideas of how long we're going to hold the breath. And we're simply softening before we start. And then it makes the whole experience completely different. And I hope some of you have had a different experience. And feel free to just scroll back and try it again or try it on your own at some point. Make sure that you do this. If you do this by yourself, you're always far away from the water.
That's
and
a very good
not
one.
Driving.
Yeah. Well, we will talk a little bit more about the safety in freediving, and then this is definitely an important one that we will come back to. Thank you so much for this little practice. It's so beautiful to see that we already the fact that how we are holding our breath and becoming aware. Awareness is key in many practices, in yoga practice, in freediving, in life in general. Like awareness and how actually am I holding myself and how am I holding my breath and how is my body reacting to this and how am I. Okay, good question. What is that I? But how am I reacting to my body that is reacting?
Yeah.
So there I already create a little bit a distance between the I and my body.
Yeah, exactly.
Like how does that work? Because the body is reacting, and then there is something like a willpower who's doing something else that wants to react.
Yes,
it feels almost like you're training a dog or something, or like.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a really good point to bring up. Is whenever we feel discomfort, a lot of us we are so.
Reactive.
We are so reactive, exactly, and we're so used as well to move away from discomfort. And especially today, I think if you would ask the same question 50 years ago, the way we perceive discomfort has completely changed. Today, if you're hungry, you open the fridge or you go to our time to go. And if you're tired, you go to sleep and you take a day off. And if you are in pain, you take a pill. And we don't delay experiencing discomfort, right? We don't sit with discomfort. And one of the things that we learn in freediving is that, first of all, you are going to be uncomfortable. Holding the breath is inherently uncomfortable. So it's a dream to say that, yes, if you look at a beautiful dive somewhere and you see somebody going down and coming back up again and being super happy on the surface, you have no idea everything that they went through on the way down and on the way back up, because all you've seen is their movement and perhaps a little smile on their face, because that's one of the biggest tricks in freediving is to smile. Tricking the body into thinking that you're happy, that you're in a good place, and you are happy, but you might be uncomfortable. So this discomfort is something to embrace and to maybe create a distance. The body is feeling the discomfort. Observing the body, like I just said in that little practice, creating a little bit of distance between you and what you're feeling. And that helps to not react directly to feeling uncomfortable or feeling anxious or feeling that strong urge to breathe.
This is very, very similar to how I speak in therapy, like creating a distance between that which is painful or that which I don't like, because for many reasons it's not possible to change it today, I guess. Otherwise it would have been changed, I guess. So if we are not deciding or are not able to change it, how can we at least change our the way how we relate to this? So it's about a relationship with that thing. How do we position ourselves? How can we create a distance and position ourselves towards that thing? Yeah,
exactly. So that's one of the things that we'll do. We'll observe. We'll make ourselves the observer. We'll make ourselves the witness of what we are experiencing. Another way to work with it is, of course, to change the perception. It's like, okay, we're feeling discomfort. Like, for example, what will happen when you hold your breath is that levels of CO2 will rise when you hold your breath. And this higher CO2 is going to give you your urge to breathe. So what you've just experienced, if you were holding the breath with us, you felt at a certain point maybe something pulling in your stomach area, or you felt some heat in the chest, and this is all your body telling you need to breathe. Now, most of us at some point in our lives thought that this was a lack of oxygen. So if I feel that I need to breathe, that is because I am low on oxygen, which is terrible. That's not what you want.
It's dangerous.
It's very dangerous. But in fact, the oxygen levels in your body and in your tissues and in your blood are still pretty much the same if you've held your breath for maybe just a minute. What did rise is the CO2, and the CO2 is giving you this urge to breathe. So your oxygen is fine. You've got plenty of air. This woman held her breath for 9 minutes, came up, smiled, and was happy to have a record. She was fine. She didn't pass out. She didn't do anything crazy. She was fine. And she held her breath for 9 minutes. Her oxygen probably dropped a little bit in 9 minutes. But what she had to battle mostly was the rising CO2 and everything that does to your body.
What does it do?
So, like I said, that feeling of heat, and the feeling of really wanting to breathe, creating saliva in your mouth, and then at a certain point, usually a minute and a half into a breath hold, you will have gentle contractions of the diaphragm.
Oh, yeah.
And this is going to feel like a pulling sensation there. And basically the body is saying like, hey, this is interesting. We haven't used our main breathing muscle for a while, so get on with it. So it's actually an involuntary response. The diaphragm is starting to pull in order for you to fill up your lungs. So if you would open your mouth, open your throat, and allow that contraction to happen, you would breathe in. This is one of the reasons we don't really need to think about breathing all the time. It just kind of happens, right?
Yeah.
And it happens, and it's directed chemically by this rising CO2 in our body. So knowing that, being aware of why you're feeling you need to breathe, changes the perception. And what I do personally, for example, is when I feel my first contraction, and I'm one of those unlucky people that gets very early contractions, I'm quite sensitive to CO2, is that I rejoice in how well my body works. See, this is a system. The system is like this. It's working perfectly. Yay me.
Yeah.
And now instead of bringing on fear, it brings on joy. It brings on a little smile. It brings an involuntary smile to my face because, yay, my body works. And, you know, what else is there that you can wish for in life is a healthy working body.
So it brings some inner peace.
Exactly.
And it makes it more possible.
Exactly. Now, the other thing that we have to deal with is that very long not breathing, and whether it is when you're lying face down in the water or whether you're swimming down towards a certain depth, at a certain point you're going to be still. You're not going to be moving. There's not going to be a lot to think about, and now suddenly there's all this time and all this space and all this quiet in which you can have these little voices that come up and tell you all the things that you don't want to hear. And also this can bring fear, can bring anxiety. It's like, oh, why am I doing this? Oh, I feel terrible. Oh, I still have such a long way to go. And then I'm down and I still have to come all the way back up. What if I panic down there? What if something happens on the way up? What if something happens on the way down? Well, you know, all the things that you can possibly think of. That's not what you want, obviously, because thinking eats quite a bit of oxygen, and you need that oxygen to bring you back up safely. So now you have that stillness. So rather than having that space for all these voices to pop up, we try to enjoy that quiet. We try to, just as if you're meditating and finally everything went quiet around you, you can embrace that stillness. Finally. There's nothing distracting me.
Well, this is a very beautiful practice for also many problems that we're dealing with above the water.
Exactly.
Right? There is so much chit-chat in our head and in everybody. Also the people who are meditating already their whole lives. There is chit-chat. That's part of who we are. So it's very difficult to turn it completely off, but there is actually ways to improve this. Yeah, like we can have a lot of chit chat in our heads that are actually holding us from doing the things that we want in our lives, or it brings a lot of fear or anxiety. And we can actually practice here. Yeah, exactly. So this is the medicine of stillness. Exactly. Right? Yes. And what can we learn there, and also how can we practice this? Because the way into this stillness, the practices that we do in order to learn this is the medicine as well. Yeah, I think. Yeah, and it's a bit twofold. I remember when I did my level 1, one of the dives that I did, I went down and I was there and I wasn't super deep and I was just hanging there and I was enjoying the blue around me and the sensation of the rope in my hand, and I was enjoying the sensation of the ocean around me, and there was nothing to see, it was just blue. And I found this beautiful, beautiful stillness. It just popped up, and I suddenly realized it's like, this is the hours of sitting on a meditation pillow took me to somewhere close to this stillness, and here being underwater for less than a minute, and that stillness was there. So the environment helps, right? It helps for you to get to that space.
At the same time, as we mentioned before, the environment can also bring up a lot of fears, a lot of anxieties, reactions of the body leading to reactions of the mind, and a lot more chatter. And you can't imagine the amount of dives that I've done that I've had crazy conversations with myself all the way down and all the way back up that are not necessarily very, very productive. So I've also had to continue my meditation practice to create a space where I can go when the chatter is overwhelming, when the chatter is going in a direction that I don't want it to go, when it becomes too negative for me to still have an enjoyable dive, or when it's so negative that it will lead to fear or perhaps even panic down there. Because don't have any can't think of the word right now, but don't imagine that all my dives are amazing. Right? I have dives that I go down there and I'm there and I turn around and there's this very strong sense of panic or fear or just simple exasperation that I've done it again, I'm down here again, I have to come all the way up. And on the way up, I'm actually already selling my freediving equipment and telling myself I'm never doing this again. Once I hit the surface, that usually dissipates. And then for some reason, I do choose to go there again. And then I have a beautiful dive that, you know, everything is rainbows and unicorns. And that's the other side of it. So, you know, it's not always fantastic. There is
it's almost like life, right?
Crazy. It is. It absolutely is. So, yes, in my meditation practice, I create a space where I can go. I create a space where I am still, where I am serene, where I am comfortable in my body, where maybe there's a visualization that goes with that. There's you know, it's a space. Actually, for me, it's a very clear space. It's right in between my eyebrows, and it's a beautiful white, beautiful lit room with nothing. So I go there, and I go there in my meditation. And when I feel the voices coming up in my freediving, I go there in my dive. So it's, you know, it can help. Being underwater and having that unicorn dive helps you to build that space a little bit more, to know how amazing it can feel, how blissful it can feel. But at the same time, in your meditation practice, you build that space, having your body in a more comfortable position. So it's kind of holding each other. There.
In my experience in freediving, I was very afraid of doing it, and I did it anyway. Why people do these things? It's interesting, eh? Like, I'm very afraid, and I'm still doing it. What I found also very beautiful or helpful was the person who was next to me, the teacher. I did a one-on-one training course, like the first level. And I was there in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Like, if I think about it now, my body again reacts with a fear response, actually. Being in the Pacific Ocean, like going with a boat in the middle of the blue sea, but being with this teacher who was, or guide, who was really helping me to feel safe and comfortable. And he was... I think it was actually a very beautiful example also of what I expect of the masculine to be, creating a very safe container. And he was a man as well. It doesn't have to be a man, of course, but he was really creating this safe container where he was guiding me in, of course, how to do all that stuff before already on the land and in the swimming pool. But also being there. He said, just take your time. Really take your time. And whenever you're ready, then you go down. I really loved that little sentence. Yeah. Like, it's teaching me a lot of what I need, actually, is having this space of like to really get close to myself, and especially I'm a beginner, like it's maybe a little bit more difficult. I'm not a beginner in yoga and these practices, so that's very helpful, I think, because I was actually doing a body scan in the water, being on top of the water, doing a body scan, and my fear was actually like floating away. There was no fear anymore, which is still now when I'm saying this, it feels weird because now I do feel a little bit of fear, but I remember the fear went away and actually it became something else. It became a joy. It became the willingness and the joy of going down. Actually, the rays of the sun shining down in the water became very beautiful, magical, and I was longing to go down, which sounds weird now, but I was really longing. And I can imagine if you do this very often, it's not always like this, and you're just going because you're training. You just need to train. And
there's a big difference as well, right? To do this for pleasure. And at a certain point, for some people, this, simply going down the line to experience all the different sensations that pop up. So a really, really chilled way of approaching freediving, and which is, according to me, the only way you should start your freediving journey. It's really, really connecting to everything beautiful that you can experience down there. And taking your time, like you said, when you're ready. Don't go before you're ready. Why would you?
Yeah.
Right? Do that body scan. Enjoy the sights on the water. I've spent many dives just hanging at 10 meters and then watching the sun through the surface of the water, or feeling the water on my face, or maybe just watching a little fish playing around the line. There's so many things that you can just, those simple moments of joy that you can feel down there, that all add to a positive experience. At a certain point, we become perhaps more ego-driven, or we understand that, actually I'm quite good at this, and maybe I can take it a bit further, and then suddenly there is a national record looming right in front of you. And now you change your freediving. It becomes more goal-oriented. It becomes more like training. And then sometimes you have to go when you're not ready. And sometimes you have to go deeper than what you feel ready for. And sometimes it doesn't work. And sometimes the voices become too loud, and sometimes you're not in a great space. And when you go diving, everything that is happening on the surface is reflected in you, so you can't find relaxation, you can't find that bliss. So it can change, and freediving has many different aspects, and I think they all have a worth, right? So that's starting, discovering the beautiful sensations. It can be therapeutical, so facing your fears, like you did, part of the probably the reasons why you ventured into a place that brings on a lot of anxiety and fear, is to face it.
Totally.
And to
was my main reason.
to face it and see if something can change. And for a lot of people, it can change. A dear friend of mine does a course, it's called the Ocean Confidence course. And it's helping people that have had perhaps bad experiences in the ocean. A lot of children went through, or so a lot of people went through stuff when they were children and in the water, just a evil friend or brother that just held them under for a bit too long, or near drowning, or floating around in the ocean, not seeing your mom in the first, anything that can trigger some form of fear at that age can come back to haunt you. And these people come to freediving courses and go like, I have this, and I'm deadly afraid of the water, but I want to do this. And then with time and with calmness and with, like you say, leaving the choice to people. It's like, I'm choosing to go under now, and I'm choosing how long I'm staying, and I'm choosing what I'm doing down there, and taking the power back. and creating a whole bunch of positive experiences underwater. And slowly we'll drive that negative experience to the background. I think it will never go away, but you can create a bigger volume of positive experiences. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do in competition training as well. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you set your line, you said, this is the dive I'm going to do. And you go down and everything is fantastic. Everything works. You feel fast, you feel strong, you are relaxed, equalization works, you reach the bottom before you even know that you're there. And then the whole way up, you just feel blissful. And sometimes you go down and you don't feel strong or you feel tired and the urge to breathe comes on a little bit faster and you still have to keep going. And the dive isn't great. And sometimes it's really bad. And when you have those negative experiences, you have to overcome that again by having a whole bunch of good experiences, which is one of the reasons that we really, really focus on keeping your progression as slow as you can. You don't jump from 40 to 80 meters. You don't even jump from 40 to 45. You go 40, and then if 40 feels good, you do 42. And if 42 feels good, you do 43. You build it up and you try to create as many positive experiences there so that you grow in confidence and you know where to go. Your happy place becomes so much stronger than your unhappy place. So when you feel discomfort, when you feel fear, then you can come to that really nice place much easier because you know where it is. Yeah. You know you've been there.
It is so beautiful, and there's so much overlap, I think, in my work, because indeed I went there for my own fear and to learn from myself and for my own mirror, but also in my professional work. I'm diving deep with people in their experiences in complex trauma, and I want to learn also about the physical body, how it reacts on deep stress levels, let's say, and in this I call this the Dark Night of the Soul. It's also a program that I'm offering. We are working through through challenges and crises, because I totally believe that we are able to learn how to get better at dealing with crises, and there are two different ways how to enter a crisis, because crisis will come in our life, and we can go unprepared or prepared. And I feel this is one way of really prepare yourself for the dark night of the soul, or crises or challenges that we all meet in our lives. And this way we can reclaim our power as we are there. Like, we can reclaim our power. And one important one is taking our time. There's no rush in healing. There's no rush in this. Every challenge or dark night that arrives is also a practice opportunity. But also without the real darkness arriving in our lives, we can practice in this way. And what I'm also thinking about very much here is the people who are tapering off medications, because I have quite some clients who are trying to get off the medications. It becomes an addiction, and very easily they get the medications from the doctor, antidepressants or Ritalin for ADHD medication or whatever. People want to get rid of it, and it's very difficult because it feels very uncomfortable. You remove the medications from your life, and you start to feel discomfort. So here also, tapering off very slowly, it's possible. It's easily possible. As if you go 1 meter at a time, you go 1 milligram, or one little bit at a time. So it's very beautiful, I think, to see this as an inspiration in this way. So back to the safety. I think this is a very important topic.
Yes. I think most people, again, if you imagine freediving, I think in most places it still kind of qualifies as an extreme sport, which, if I think of what I consider an extreme sport, it's like it's not at all. But yeah, there's a few things that you definitely keep in mind to keep things safe. And that is, whenever you do a breath hold in water, you are never alone. There's always somebody with you, and that somebody is not holding their breath at the same time, right? So, for example, if you're in a pool and you're having a little play with a friend and see how long you can hold the breath, and one friend has his face in the water and the other friend is checking in to make sure that you're still there. Okay, one of the things that we are conscious of and that we're careful of is what we call the shallow water blackout. And what happens basically is you hold your breath. At some point the CO2 is going to kick in, so you're going to start feeling those contractions and you're going to start feeling the urge to breathe. But if you push through, and many people can push through because otherwise you don't get to a 9-minute breath hold, obviously, the oxygen is going to get used up, right? So the oxygen is coming down, and at a certain point you're going to have about 60 or 50% of the oxygen in your tissues, in your body, in your blood of what you normally have. Your saturation is going to go down. And around this time, around 50-60%, is where your brain pretty much shuts off. It goes like, okay, we need that oxygen for the vital organs, and apparently the brain is not a vital organ. So the brain shuts off and you basically pass out to save oxygen. So it's actually a nice thing of your body to do that. The problem is if you're lying face down in the water and nobody's watching you and nobody is there to pull you out of the water, then you drown. Yeah, and this is what happens when we think of freediving, and some people will have a bad whatchamacallit. We'll can't think of the words. If you think of freediving as a dangerous sport, that is because so many people had accidents, spear fishermen specifically, but people also having a play in the pool, in the bathtub, by themselves. All these accidents happened because people were alone and there was nobody there to just pull their face out of the water and go like, hey, he's still there. And that's all you need to do. The blackout itself is not dangerous. It's having the blackout by yourself.
That's a very important one. But you do want to avoid a blackout. This is what I
absolutely.
This is like
this means that you pushed a little bit too far, or that you're not fit to hold your breath quite as long. So you need to train that. So just as you train the depth a meter at a time, you will train your breath hold a few seconds at a time. Build it up slowly so that you can feel the body. And there's little signs, you can feel when you're becoming a little bit hypoxic, as we call it, a little bit low on oxygen. And you learn to recognize these things.
So the urging to breathe is not one of those?
No.
That's interesting, eh?
Yeah.
Because that's maybe what we think.
Exactly.
Like, I want to breathe,
yes.
so my body wants oxygen. But it's actually not true. It wants maybe something else, or it's just reacting.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't want anything, it's just reacting.
It doesn't need anything. When you start to feel that first urge to breathe, it doesn't need anything.
No. Yeah.
No.
That's I found this also very interesting, because that urge is coming, and of course normally what you do, you start breathing,
exactly,
and then just being with that urge. For me it was such a beautiful practice. Yeah I like when I teach freediving, I tell my students, when they feel it, that's like your alarm. So it's like your body saying like, hey, what are we doing here? And what you do with that alarm is you press snooze, just as you do in real life. The alarm goes and it's always too early. So you press snooze and then you sleep a little bit longer. So you do the exact same thing. So yes, I've heard you. I'm kind of awake. I'm aware.
But, you know, I'll stay for a little bit longer. And you can snooze quite a bit.
It's snoozing. That's nice. And I do remember in the practice that my teacher was asking me to put my hand up in the water with my first contractions. Also maybe to get to know me and to understand what's going on down there. Yeah. And it's very shallow water, but like he was just sitting there. I was face down in the water, just practicing. Yeah. So this is important in breath holding. Are there other safety measures that are very important?
I think this is probably the main thing, but for anyone who wants to try freediving, do a course. Don't try and learn it on YouTube. Don't try and learn it by yourself with a book. Go to a certified instructor and do a course with them. And not only will you learn all the procedures to keep yourself and your body safe, you also learn how to hold your breath comfortably, and you will learn how to swim down with good techniques, saving your oxygen, saving your energy. So, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I would never go and just try it by yourself and see how far you get. Get an instructor. Yeah. And it's fun as well. Freediving courses are super fun.
Yeah, and you can find them all over the world.
Pretty much, even here in Holland, there's a few places offering freediving courses. You can freedive in a Dutch lake if you fancy. It's a little darker and colder than in the Pacific or in Bali, but yes, you can. And just look up freediving, and you'll find a freediving school, and you'll find they're popping up everywhere. The sport's becoming more and more popular.
I thought it could be a little bit less scary if it was clear water. But on the other hand, I realized that my biggest fear was actually that something would just pop up out of nowhere. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be like even a jellyfish, because, you know, it could scare you a little bit just because something unexpected is popping up.
Yeah. So maybe diving in Dutch pea soup, at least you won't see it coming.
Exactly. There's
not sure if that's reassuring.
Yeah. So what is it like? Is there much swimming in our Dutch lakes? You think is there much that we can expect if we would?
No, maybe a few pikes and a few trouts.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So nothing to be worried about. Definitely. It's I think it's mainly the temperature which is a challenge here, and not seeing anything or much.
Yeah, but we're wearing a suit. Like
you wear a nice wetsuit.
There's a wetsuit, and there's a line going down, which is an interesting one, very different than the scuba divers here, because then you just swim around a rock or something like this.
Which you can also do freediving, right? Once you learn how to equalize your ears and how to dive down with good technique and safely, then you can also swim around and look at the fish, as scuba divers do.
And also a way I can imagine if, because we went quite therapeutically also in this conversation, I can imagine to avoid the fish or other friends that are living underwater, you can try in a swimming pool. These days there are pools that are pretty deep.
Yeah, there's some very
what's
deep
the
pools.
deepest pool, you think?
There's the one in Dubai, which is 60 meters.
60.
Yes, there's that one. There's one in Poland, which is, I think, similar. Actually, it's also quite deep. And then a little closer to home, there is 33 meters in Belgium. I think in Brussels.
Yeah.
And there's 40 meters close to Milan. In Italy.
Yeah. So that's interesting for therapeutic use. If you want to be sure there's no fish down there.
Yes, although even that is a fear to face, right?
Totally.
So But yeah, it's definitely very safe, and it's warm water. So, if you want to focus on just the breath hold, then, and maybe going down a line and back up again, then this is a very safe place to start.
Yeah, and it's good to have a choice, right?
Yes,
to have your choice in here. So, and you are connecting, your freediving experiences also with yoga professionally. You're doing the teacher trainings. These are purely about yoga, or do you also teach anything freediving in the trainings? How is this?
Not so much freediving, although I always offer students, especially when we are in places where there is freediving, I'll offer them a little intro to freediving on the weekend off. But that will be separate from the training. What I do incorporate more and more is working with the breath into the yoga. I've also done the Oxygen Advantage course, which you might have heard of, the Patrick McEwen Oxygen Advantage course. So I'm integrating that with the pranayama and with the yoga practices. So a different way of connecting to the breath, a very scientific approach to breath. It's a really nice way to, or a very well-informed path that also leads to very ancient practices like pranayama. So yes, I'm incorporating more and more breath work into most of the teaching of yoga, whether I teach daily or whether it's the yoga teacher trainings. And soon we'll have a whole 50-hour module, which is going to be uniquely breath work and pranayama.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And what I like a lot is the focusing on the exhalation and the relaxation and the surrendering being with discomfort, like what we all spoke about. And how do you feel about working with the inhalation? Because this is a very much hyped practice I see these days. Like a lot of people are working with inhalation focused practices in yoga, or even totally disconnected from yoga, but just as breathing exercise. Or
I think I do work with the inhalation, but mainly as a connection to our breathing muscles. So what do we use to inhale? Where do we inhale to? Working with something that one of my teachers calls horizontal breathing, so breathing into the lower ribs. So there's activation. I think for a long time we were very focused on belly breathing and chest breathing, belly breathing being the more relaxed one and chest being the activating one. That is still true to a certain extent, but there's a way to inhale where you use the lower ribs and you have a slight activation of the belly, which is still low, which is still a soft breathing, but is not as, just push the belly out. It's the same, but it's more informed. It's more complete as a breath. So for that, yes, I do work with the inhalation. And then working with equal inhalation and exhalation. So in coherence breathing, 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And also with longer exhalations, which is, it's still a very, very effective practice to bring down heart rate, to bring more softness, to bring more relaxation to wherever you are. But even the equal, so the 6-6, and of course it's the square breathing, which also has its effects. So yes, no, I do work with inhalation. What I don't work with is hyperventilation.
No.
So that's not my expertise, and it's also not my my preference in breath, because I believe very strongly that most of us hyperventilate in daily life as it is, and I don't see the need to add hyperventilation as a practice, but we need to actually learn to breathe less than we do. We breathe too much as it is.
Yeah, I totally agree with you here. And yeah, I think it's, people, like to do this to trigger certain things, to trigger emotions, and
I think it probably has a place. And again, it's not my expertise. It has a place and it has its benefits. I have tried it, of course, because curious. I wasn't super excited about the results of the practice. And I find what I'm missing a lot in these workshops and people offering these breathwork practices where hyperventilation is the biggest factor, is their understanding of what happens to the body physiologically.
Yeah.
So why are you feeling this? Why do you feel like you're being reborn? Why do you have these extreme physical and mental reactions to the breath? And I find that a lot of breathwork therapists don't really know why this is happening. So I've lost the trust in a lot of these workshops, but that's a very personal.
And I think in general, it's in any therapeutic thing. Is when you bring a person in a certain state, or when you go, like when you open the door, and people go into a certain place, you must be able to bring people back into safety, and otherwise, just don't go there.
Exactly, and that's lacking as well.
Yeah.
It's like, having spent a lot of time in Bali, you can only imagine how many people walk around there trying to make a buck offering these workshops that are not necessarily trained professionals. And yes, they offer those workshops, and then they send people out into the streets that, that they've just opened up in many different ways without any support, without any aftercare. And I've seen some stuff.
Yeah, and me too in my practice, because then people end up often in my practice with like psychosis or deep depressions or old trauma being opened, which is, there's nothing wrong with that per se, but it can be very re-traumatizing if it's not dealt with in a professional way.
No.
I think this is also like a little safety concern in this way.
Definitely.
Yeah, and especially also the trauma. It seems like everybody is a trauma therapist after reading a book, and it's a little bit the same thing. Yeah? So always I think it's very important for us as professionals to be very honest. This is
stick to what you know.
It's
right?
It's an ethical and yogic thing, I think, to be honest. Like, what do you actually know, and what is possible? And otherwise, it's really great to recommend people to go to other people who are actually
because you can't know everything, right?
Yeah.
You can't be an expert in everything.
Yeah, no.
If only.
So, but great. I feel like we covered a lot here, and it has been a very interesting conversation. Thank you for sharing this. I think for the ending of our conversation, I would love to go a little bit into like what is nurturing you spiritually, and also what you want to share. What is your like core message that you want to share with other people?
Oh, such a good question. What nurtures me, it won't surprise you, is water and everything that it brings. The peace and the beauty of water, the pressure and the depth of water, and the way it changes shape, the way it adapts, the way it can be both strong and soft, and everything that water is. And water always brings me joy, whether I'm walking on the beach watching massive waves crashing and listening to the seagulls and feeling the sand between my toes, or whether I'm in a tropical, calm place and the water is surrounding me, or whether I'm in a Dutch lake with green surrounding me and cold. There's always something to find there. It's always it's a beautiful place to be, and it's a beautiful messenger and mirror. It teaches you. So yes, water. Yeah, I come back to what I said in the beginning. There is such beauty in a practice like freediving, and there's so much that you can get from it as a person. There's so much that you can take away from it, and that makes you a better person to yourself, and a better person for others, which kind of follows from the first one. And yes, I wish for everyone to at least have a taste of it, or find something that comes close. We've mentioned other practices like yoga, like meditation, like breath holding, like breath work. And all these things, they all have such benefits with such little effort, really. So rather than just, diving into the medicine cabinet or switching on Netflix, maybe spend some time on self-care and looking at yourself and allowing for whatever practice helps for you to actually help. Take the time and make that small effort, because it's brought me so much. And I just wish for everyone to, holding your breath is free. You can just do it.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. And of course, we are water as well. Like, we are a big part of water. And I remember we spoke before with each other, and you said that on a soul level, you are water. I thought this was that was a very beautiful. Yeah. And an interesting observation, like, what are my containers? Like, why am I in certain containers? How did I get? Yeah. Very interesting. There's you see this pink thing on my arm. It's a Hawaiian sentence, because I love to also dive into the philosophy and the Hawaiian way of living, let's say. And it says, He ola ka wai. It means water is life. So that's also a nice little addition. And one of my favorite books of Alan Watts, I don't know if you know Alan Watts, The Tao of Water. I love it. I don't know if you read it already. That's good, I think. So is there any book that could be like inspirational, maybe a spiritual book on water, or another book or a podcast that comes up, something that who or what inspires you? Well, we'll check it out,
Yes.
and we can add the links here or there, maybe here somewhere around the place where this podcast is shared, which is, by the way, also on www.therapy.net. There is a place, the Original Medicines, where we can speak a little bit more about the podcast that we are recording here, so that could be a nice place. Where can people find you if they go on that World Wide Web? But I will definitely also share it in these common places where I share this recording. So great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation. So thank you, Darja, and also thank you for listening to this Original Medicines podcast, in which I, alone or with a guest, look for usual and unusual medicines for mental health. Thank you so much, and if you liked this episode, please share it with your friends and your colleagues and in your social networks to help me grow this podcast. And hope to see you next time.